schools and colleges in Karnataka have been declared closed by the Karnataka government. It's come to that now, that educational institutions have had to close their doors to students. The reason behind this are the clashes that have now erupted across Karnataka because of an issue of hijab ban that first erupted in Udupi and later spread to many other districts. Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has ordered a closure of schools and colleges for the next 3 days. The High Court hearing on the petition of Muslim students has been adjourned. The hearing will resume tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. So this comes as a huge standoff now is seen between students wearing saffron shawls and those in hijabs in different districts of Karnataka. Colleges in Bagalkot and Shivmoga also witnessed clashes between police and students.
This whole thing started in one school. However, now it has spread to other districts, which is very unfortunate. The matter is seized by the High Court. We have put our case very clearly, constitutional and legal, Karnataka Education Act provisions we have been put. There has been some disturbances in few places. Therefore, I am appealing to the students that they have to maintain peace and harmony, because ultimately tomorrow they have to sit together and do all the educational activities, academic activities. Therefore, a peace and harmony should be maintained.
Well, so you heard the Chief Minister of Karnataka. They're making an appeal for peace and restraint. So here on Mirror Now, we are not looking at this issue through any narrow prism of communal hate. Yes, we are actually concerned about how education is taking a hit. And that's why we are actually raising questions around how bigotry has now managed to derail education. That's where the danger lies. Girl students are being barred from classrooms because of what is, after all, a headscarf. And that is where we see a dangerous precedent. And we are, of course, assuming more often than not that they are doing it out of religious compulsion. What if it's a cultural choice? What if it's a matter of individual preference? No one is asking them why they are doing it. They may be doing it out of a pure sense of choice. So, in a way, are we all not following our religion simply because we are born into it? Later, we behave as if we chose it as adults. The fact of the matter is, we are following certain practices because we are born into that culture. So what's wrong if these girls out there have chosen to wear their cultural identity or even religious identity for that matter? But clearly, it's now become an issue. The issue is of being reduced to our religious identities. Campuses are getting infested with bigots, and we'll tell you why it's becoming dangerous. Take a look at this video. You will see a hijab-clad girl being hounded by many others, by a bunch of men. And look at the level of hate and hostility she's facing, even as she marches on, unfazed, undeterred, and fearless. Take a look. So this is what I was talking about. This is from Mandya in Karnataka. Here is a girl student who's wearing a hijab, and as she walks to her campus, you will see that suddenly a bunch of men are coming in and hounding her. She gives it back to them. She walks on. She's fearless. But what it really shows is that the level of hate and hostility now has clearly taken tremendous proportions. I'm going to introduce Dr. Bhalchandra Mungekar, former Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University, who is joining us here on the program. Okay, let's introduce our guests, our panelists this evening. Dr. Bhalchandra Mungekar, very warm welcome. Thanks for joining us. Also with us, Amina Sherwani, women's rights activist and filmmaker, and Abhishek Janardhan, advocate for Resham, who's a petitioner and a student of Udupi College. Very warm welcome to all three of you. If I may come to you first, Amina Sherwani, I want to know your take on this. Because like I said in the beginning of the program, most of us are born into our religion, and look at how the issue of wearing a headscarf which a certain religious community does, is becoming one where now the students are being deprived of their right to education. Therein, I think, lies the bigger problem now, because it has taken that kind of a proportion, Amina Shirwani.
You know, we are into the 21st century. It's the year 2022 now. And 1500 years ago, Islam came as a reform movement to give more rights to women. It certainly did not come to lock women up in black garments. In fact, the Quran clearly says that your face is your pehchan, it is your identity, it is what your DNA, your complete total DNA reflects in your face. That individual face that you have got is given to you by Mother Nature and God, and it does not have to be hidden. Women are not weaklings or impure beings that have to be hidden. They are not dirt that have to be covered. In fact, Islam clearly says that we have to work towards making a society where women can live freely, and that's the job of women, is to reform society and to fight back, just like this young girl is fighting. I just wish she was not wearing these weird Arab garments, which the Quran does not prescribe her to wear. I don't know from where she's got the idea that this is Islam and this is Islam ki pehchan. Islam is about freedom. Islam is about progress. It's about moving forward. That's what it came to tell you 1400 years ago. So, and the young boys, I mean, look at these shameless young boys, a whole group of them attacking one woman, heckling her. This is absolutely shameless. This is like a gang. It's like a gang attack on a girl. So let's forget
that it is, yes, which is why
we
are
forget
worried
that these boys are Hindus. This is just bad behavior on the part of the boys.
The atmosphere is vitiated, and it's extremely worrisome. We want things to end here. We want to nip the evil in the bud so that it doesn't spread any further. My colleague Revati is there on ground. She's been tracking the story. I'm going to toss across to her before I go to my other panelists. Yes, Revati, over to you.
Well, yes, the protest on this issue has spread across the state, and the government has taken a serious note of it. The High Court has also taken a note of it. The court hearing next will come up tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. and there's a cabinet meeting tomorrow as well, where the government will decide on what its stand would be and what its response would be to the petitioner's submission today that we discussed throughout the day today. But I have a few students with me. Let me get you their voices as well. You have observed the hijab issue from across the state. Now, as a student, how do you look at this?
I feel that the hijab issue shouldn't become an issue now, because there are few Muslim women who actually don't wear the hijab. There are few women who wear it. They should actually be particular about what they want to do. It can't be something very biased. Not everybody should follow different rules. And I feel that since in Hinduism, the Ghungat system has slowly vanished with the modern world. People in Rajasthan do wear it. I think they do it after marriage, but now they aren't doing it because they're in the modern world. They're adapting to it. And academically looking at it, when we enter a NEET exam hall, we are checked thoroughly, and we are literally asked to remove off our footwear, whatever. How is it fair if they get to wear hijabs and go in? We are checked in such bad ways. So I feel, this is what I've heard from a friend. So
Frisking for them is done too as per the rules. Do you agree with that view? Do you have the same?
No, I feel it's obviously an individual choice whether you want to wear it or not, because if we are in the 21st century, the government didn't have a problem as of now. So all of a sudden they have this problem, and obviously we have learned about law to equality and so many laws throughout in civics and everything. So before it wasn't a problem, how come all of a sudden they're coming up with this?
Okay.
And they're denying them the education.
Okay, students of your age group, they aren't allowed to enter the campus wearing a hijab. How do you look at that? How do you think the government should have dealt with it?
I feel, first of all, denying education to students just because of something that he or she is wearing is very wrong. And moreover, when you look at it at one way, education comes first, and religion. One thing is, religion is a very personal thing. Okay. What I believe in, what you believe in is up to you, and it is up to me. So I feel that you can't just generalize things. Uniforms are a must. The main motive of keeping a uniform is to make everyone equal, and that sort of this thing was there. But I feel allowing students not to. I know there are security issues, and like she mentioned, NEET exam hall. But I feel we can put measures to, somewhat
bring in some
Yeah,
sort of equality and not deny them education is what you're
denying education based just because of what they are wearing is very wrong. I feel it's very wrong.
Okay. Also, if you looked at what is happening across the state, students of your age are now divided into two, where they are, protesting for the right to hijab against the hijab. How do you look at that?
I think that's a whole new matter that's going on, and from a small matter, it's become a big matter. But it is a matter to be given consideration because when it comes to schools or colleges, there is a uniform that is supposed to be followed. So if everyone are supposed to be following one rule, it can't be different.
Panelists are here who can weigh in now on the various different points of view that we are getting from the students. So at one level, Dr. Balchandra Mungekar, this is about violation of uniform. That is the position taken by the Karnataka government. They believe that the hijab does not come under the ambit of the uniform. All students have to wear uniform prescribed by the school or the college, and therefore certain exemptions for a certain community cannot be made. Now, what is your take on this matter?
On this, this is the climax of the religious bigotry of the Bharatiya Janata Party government in Karnataka and the entire Sangha Parivar. Why this sudden hijab issue came into the question right now? On 1st May 1960, 3 states were born, Karnataka, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Since then, till now, there was no question of hijab. The girls in the various colleges and the academic institutions, including the universities, where I was vice chancellor of Bombay University, they were using their hijabs and cover tops. At that point of, this is absolutely ridiculous, and just there's what is called, it is religious bigotry and communalizing the entire state. 3 days they are closing down the entire education institutions in the state on this small issue of religious practice of the Muslim. And let me ask you, who are Hindus to challenge their practice? If one section of the Muslim community demand that they should not wear hijab, it is understandable because that is reform measure. But Hindus are absolutely drowned up to their neck so far the inhuman practices of all kinds of, which are the shameful from point of humanity. In this particular case, I congratulate the girls, those Muslim girls, particularly those who are stubborn and maintaining their cultural identity. In what way they are violating the constitutional norms of the one hand? Prime Minister is talking of religious diversity. They're using hijabs. No way comes in the way of their education right or your secularism. This constitution has given it is diversified society, and then religious practices of every religious sect are respected.
So two major points you are making, sir, and you are the former Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University who have handled an institution. You are saying this is right to education is at stake, right to practice one's religion is at stake, which is guaranteed by the Constitution. Abhishek Janardhan, you are a petitioner for one of the students of Udupi College. Tell us, what is the argument here when it comes to a hijab ban? Because you see, there are other communities. The Sikh community, for instance, also wears a headgear, a turban. It's a religious symbol. I've never seen any protest anywhere, anybody having a problem. So why is a headscarf if a Muslim community, a person, and even in the case of Sikhs, not everybody wears a turban. I, as a Muslim woman, don't wear. Amina Sherwani doesn't wear a hijab, and she's against the idea. So why is this community being targeted? Yes.
And why this issue at this point of time
none
only?
Of them wore this garment because it is not. It is in fact told in the Quran, do not wear this.
No, I am making another point. Amina, I'll come back to you. Let me have Mr. Abhishek Janardhan's argument in this. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Fundamentally, this is not an issue of identity politics. This is a constitutional law issue. It's an issue of liberty. Our country is founded on the concepts of liberty. And insofar as saying if the Quran prescribes it or otherwise, our fundamental argument is that if one chooses to believe in something, they should have the liberty to believe in those things and not just restricted to belief. It should the protection should extend to all practices done in furtherance of such belief. And these concepts of liberty and these rights that I've just outlined have been enumerated in the Constitution from the inception of this country. And now this is this becoming a communal issue but we should make no mistake, because we have to understand that that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and it's not just the fundamental rights of these girls who wish to wear a hijab that's concerning. It's
But
all
you
of
know
our
what,
religion.
Mr. Janardhan, what is going to happen now is the court is intervening, and the court is going to go by the book. And the court, just like it happened with triple talaq, is going to see whether wearing the hijab is integral to the practice of Islam. And the moment you do that, the answer will be no. There's so many of us who don't wear it. Then what happens? How do you plan to then take this battle further?
Our argument is actually the contrary, that given the Islamic faith, the core tenets of Islamic faith do prescribe wearing the hijab.
No, Amina Sherwani is saying that's not the case.
Not at all. In fact,
Women from the community are saying it is not the case.
Afrida, the meaning of the word hijab is a screen or a wall. Now, are we going to put walls around women? Hijab does not mean a cloth covering at all. It means walls and screens to be put around you. So hijab is not at all a garment to be worn.
But then, Amina, if somebody chooses to wear it, just like somebody can choose to wear a short skirt, somebody can choose to wear a headscarf. Why are we assuming that it's imposed on her? What if she has chosen?
But they cannot say that Islam prescribes it and Quran prescribes it. They cannot say that. They may choose to wear whatever they feel like and say it's my personal choice and fight for their personal choice. But to say that Islam tells you to wear this, it's your religious duty. It certainly is not. Your religious duty is to be bold, brave, fearless, go out, just like everything else this girl was doing. She was perfect except for the black garment.
Okay, that's a fair point. Yes, Abhishek, go ahead, sir.
She's brave, beautiful, fantastic, but she just does not need to wear those weird Arabic clothes. They're neither part of our culture nor part of our religion.
Okay, that's your point of view. Yes, Abhishek Janardhan, please complete your point.
Ma'am, religion is a very personal matter, and it is the interpretation of the individual of what the religion entails, and that's what becomes the belief, and that's what the practices arise from. So nobody has a monopoly on what the religion is. What is religious to me might not be religious to you, and what is religious to you might be obscene to someone else.
Okay, now the problem is, Dr. Mungekar, this is now invading our campuses. This debate can go on. You know, in the adult world, we all have our opinions, but it's affecting the impressionable minds, the future of this country. It's entered the realm of education, universities and colleges and schools. Now, how are we going to handle it from here, sir? How are we going to ensure that this doesn't affect education? It's already showing its impact with 3 days of closure of institutions in Karnataka because of this issue.
This shows that this kind of lumpen elements in the society, okay, whether in the government or elsewhere, they are taking the country to the roads of destruction. A small issue in a college, whether to wear hijab or not, it can be settled there so far the administrative decision of the vice chancellor or the headmaster is concerned or administrator is concerned. Taking that issue to the entire state level, using that as the pretext for closing all the schools and education institutions for 3 days, this is the mockery of understanding whether religion or not religion.
So are you saying, Dr. Mungekar, that there are rabble-rousers, there are people who are instigating it and inciting it? There always have been women in hijab everywhere across the country. It never was a problem. Are you saying this is something that is being triggered deliberately? I'm trying to understand the point you're making.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They are not the people, those who are opposing wearing hijab by the Muslim girls, have nothing to do with the liberation of the Muslim women. Then first they should try to liberate Hindu women. Isn't it? Let us take, you say, wider issue. You allow me half minute. When 104,000 atrocities against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and thousands of rapes are committed by the upper caste people, so far the untouchable or scheduled caste ladies are concerned, at that time, where is their conscience? Is Hinduism teaching them that scheduled caste women, Shudra women should be raped? It is mockery of understanding religion and so forth practice. This is clearly communal ploy they are converting into and polarizing the community along the religion. And this is destructive because young minds, which are totally pure like Ganges water, they are polluted, they are intimidated, and they are taught hatred among each other. The same students will be living together as citizens for years together. The seeds are sown and strengthened of communal hatred between the communities.
To have this
BJP
conversation, because this is precisely what we are worried about, that the bigots are infesting our campuses, and that cannot be allowed to happen. The civil society will have to rise above our religious differences. Quick last comments, Amina Sherwani.
I would request Vice Chancellor Sahab to please understand that do not say that Hindus cannot interfere in the affairs of Muslims and Muslims cannot interfere. I think we are all Indian citizens and we should happily interfere in the affairs of each other, especially when it comes to women and girls. We've always fought unitedly. We have always fought unitedly to take our society forward. So I am delighted when Hindus want to interfere in the affairs of us Muslims, and I happily interfere in the affairs of the Hindus.
Do you know when Ambedkar prepared Hindu Code Bill in 1951 and he was liberating the Hindu women from the bondage, who were the people opposing that? Same Bharatiya Janata Party, Rashtriya Swayam Sangha and Hindu Mahasabha.
Our very own near and dear ones who are behaving badly today also. So I am saying that one batch of right-wing men are on one side and the rest of us have always been on the other side, fighting for every woman's rights, no matter whether she's a Muslim woman or a Hindu woman. But the Muslim society also has to grow up. It's 2022. These garments are neither prescribed in our religion and nor do our beautiful, wonderful, fearless girls need to hide. Look at this girl. Does she need to hide behind a black burqa? She can take on anybody. She can sort out.
Yes, that is an argument we can, of course, continue. And I would love to participate in that.
But here we are more concerned
about sentinels being deliberately whipped up. That cannot be allowed. Colleges being deliberately infested by vested interests. That cannot be allowed. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Balchandra and Mr. Janardhan, and also Amina Sherwani for giving us your time.